All right, well, let's talk about those Minnesota Twins, shall we? I'll give you fans props if you're staying up late for these, man. Another late one. First pitch, not till 8:40 p.m. Twins lose to the A's 5-2. Royce Lewis goes yard again. We'll get to him in a moment. Dylan Bundy goes scoreless. Only pitched 3 innings, I believe.
Three.
And then
Yeah.
Josh Winder takes over. He allows all 5 runs in 3 2/3 innings pitched. Not much doing offensively again without Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa, but just quick thoughts, notes. Last night's loss 5-2 versus the A's, Reggie.
Well, it's tough, man. We talked about it going into this series. Like, they had to take advantage of these games against
Right.
the A's, and they win 2 of 3. They're doing all right. Considering every team in the division lost yesterday, by virtue of the Royals and the White Sox playing a doubleheader yesterday, they split that. So every team lost yesterday in the division, and it's just like, okay. All right. So, I mean, it presented an opportunity for the Twins to just go up, at least one more game in the division. And so that kind of sucks that they weren't able to do that last night. But, another day, back at it this afternoon, and they can take advantage.
Yeah, you hope once Buxton and Correa hopefully maybe come back today, who knows? They start to get their bats going a little bit. They can take this series and, again, start to take advantage of that soft schedule. We got to talk about the elephant in the room here. You bring up Royce Lewis, #1 overall pick in all of baseball. He looks every bit the part, by the way, offensively and defensively in the field. And you're thinking, this guy's just playing too good. There's no way they can send him back down when Carlos Correa returns. But sure enough, here we are. Just hours ago, Twins announced Lewis will be sent back down as Correa is set to get back into the lineup. Reggie, I get it. They play the same position here, shortstop, but we were banging the table for the Twins to find a way to get both guys on the field and in the lineup together. Not so fast, my friend. What's the Twins' thought process here, in your opinion?
I think their thought process is they signed Correa to a big money deal this year for him to be the guy for them. And it's like, look, I guess you don't want to stunt Royce Lewis's progress at all. If Correa's going to be healthy and he's going to play and he'll be, a full-time starter, it's going to be tough to kind of stunt a young guy's process and his progress by limiting the amount of at-bats that he gets, limiting, the playing time that he gets because he's behind Correa. And it's like, well, you could maybe find a way to get him in at another position, but it's like, well, do you want to stunt his growth as a shortstop? And maybe some fans think like, well, that doesn't matter, because he'll be able to adjust back to the shortstop position, at a future date. But I think the Twins are just trying to play it cool, play it safe here. But it was a tough decision. I guess it wasn't that tough because they made it. But, he hit a home run last night, and you're just like, well, I don't know this dude. But, if you send him down, he gets to play every day with St. Paul. So then when you have to bring him up again, he's already, loose in rhythm and all that, and he can contribute to the team again. But I would not allow this to be a thing that makes him stay down for very long. I mean, I think you got to find any and every opportunity to bring him back up. And I know, a lot of fans were talking about, the Twins valuing service time. So, if they send him down, then, that adds to the time that he's in the league and without them having to pay him and all that good stuff. And, baseball has a lot of that going on. We saw it with Chris Bryant several years ago with the Cubs. They sent him down at the start of the season just to bring him back a few weeks later so that they could add to his service time, which delayed them having to pay him. And so, playing the long game, maybe we're just a little too inside baseball with it because, we got our feelings attached seeing Royce Lewis grand slam last week, another home run last night. You're like, oh, man, this dude is playing. This dude is doing it. But the Twins are like, you know what? We know what we got. When my wife and I go shopping And I remember a few years ago, we were going shopping for Christmas trees. And we were like, okay, we had a number that we were going to stop at in regards to what we were going to pay for these Christmas trees. And then all of a sudden, we saw the numbers and we were like, dang, these Christmas trees are expensive. And so I looked at my wife. I said, you know what? We know where it's at.
Yep.
We know where it's at. We'll come back. If we need to come back and get this tree, we'll do it. And then I feel like with the Twins, they're like, look, we know where Royce is at. He's over in St. Paul. If we need him, we'll come get him. But, he might be a little too expensive for their blood right now.
Little cat and mouse game going on there for sure. The Twins have to find a way, though. We talked about it all week, talked about it last week. They got to find a way to maximize their best 9 guys. And certainly Royce Lewis and Carlos Correa both need to be implemented into that game plan. While we're on the topic, ESPN released 10 trades we could see go down in the MLB at some point in the season. Number 4 on the list was the idea of Carlos Correa being moved sometime this season before the Twins could ultimately lose him next offseason. If you were to decline the next 2 years on his deal, making him an impending free agent, I'm like, maybe this is just a 1-year rental deal. Or maybe they end up moving him for pieces anyways. The article notes the good problem the Twins are in with Royce Lewis, as mentioned, knocking on the door at shortstop and being ultimately the long-term plan there for the Twins. And moving Correa now to get a healthy return and assets back. What do you think, Reggie? I mean, Twins go get a couple nice arms to add to their bullpen, or maybe even just one shutdown stud reliever, something like that, or hold on to Correa as long as you can, as we haven't even really scratched the surface of seeing how good this lineup could be when everyone's fully healthy.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit out of the gate, Correa did. And, I think what sucks about that injury is it seemed like he was starting to pick it up a little bit. And now, you got the injuries to set him back a little bit. And, maybe it takes him a second to get back up to speed. And if that happens, then you're really going to have the people like, hey, that's why you should have just kept Lewis. But it's like, look, you didn't sign this guy for nothing. But I think what's interesting is if things start to trend towards, maybe Correa not re-signing or you really just feel strongly about the future and the youth movement. And you're like, you know what? We want Royce Lewis to be our guy. Maybe he's just like not down in, but over in St. Paul, just killing it. You know what I mean? And you're like, you know what? We can't wait anymore on this guy. I think it would be unwise to let this season run out with Carlos Correa, not knowing if he's going to be coming back, and also having a luxury piece like Royce Lewis in the wings. I think it would be unwise for them to leave Correa on the docket without making maybe a deal. We've seen with the Twins that pitching is never enough. So if you can find a way to deal Correa down the line and get a couple arms that are gonna help you, play some meaningful baseball down the stretch. This is still a championship expectation type season for the Twins, and so you're like, well, if Correa's killing it and Royce is killing it in AAA, you're like, well, maybe we flip Correa for a couple arms, one in the farm system and one that could help us right now. And then we bring Lewis up and we just keep the thing rolling. Maybe you make a decision like that, but I think we're just a little premature at making a decision like that. But that is something that they do need to keep in mind as they move forward.
And it's early, right? 6 weeks in? This is a long baseball season.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Twins right now, though, still haven't seemed like they've gotten into much of a rhythm offensively. That order has changed night in and night out. Correa's in, then he's out. Buxton's in, then he's out. You bring up Royce Lewis, he flashes a little bit. Not to mention the 3 or 4 other young players coming up with a lot of potential they're trying to sprinkle in. Hopefully, as this season progresses, you get in the thick of the summer, then they can get into some sort of, again, just momentum here. Start to really find out the true potential of when everybody's healthy, including Carlos Correa. And if it's not what you thought it was going to look like, even if Carlos Correa isn't in the long-term plans, the value you have with him, if you want to go on and move him and go get, like you mentioned, some stud pitchers, maybe some young farm guys, some nice prospects waiting in the wings, it's not a bad idea to have. And that's why I think ultimately when we brought him in, we paid him that monster 3-year deal. We said, well, even if it's only 1-year rental or maybe you end up moving him anyways, Carlos Correa is a name brand. He brings value to the table, and any team come July would be pounding on the door to try to acquire a guy like that for their playoff push. So we'll see how it all shakes out. We talked a lot about hopefully the Twins could take advantage of this soft spot in the schedule. So far, 1-1. Lost one versus the A's. Looking for the series win today in an afternoon game. First pitch, 2:37 p.m.
It's always sunny in Minnesota.
It's always sunny, man. Even with a little overcast going on this morning, that was sunny on the mound.